Testing. I've been thinking a lot about spirituality. You see, my spiritual life has shifted a lot from what was instilled in me in my childhood. I still believe the foundation of what I had been taught, but I also expanded on what actually resonates with my heart and soul. In 2016, while at a Christian conference, I heard God call me to walk away from the structure of religion. I decided to not attend a church, as in the building, and to continue going deeper with God based purely on what He calls me to do. And whew, what a journey. Many people have gotten to witness my journey, and many people from my childhood have not. They probably wouldn't recognize me if I were to meet them again today. And I'm talking about close friends and family. And as I prepare to come out of the spiritual closet, as my friend coined that term, I find myself faced with a lot of nerves and anxiety. The reality is, there's a very high chance that some of them, or all of them, will reject me, given the nature of what they were taught about their beliefs. And sitting with that possible rejection of the people who shaped my formative years has been heavy. But it opened up a whole new topic for me: ego and spirituality. How I have in my head intended to open up this video, I'm sure you know that today the topic is about ego and spirituality and religion. And there's so much that I want to talk about, and I actually prepared bullet points today. Because I want to get the conversation started, right? And I want to give an opportunity for people to continue this conversation within their community, within their churches, within their groups, whatever, within their families, whatever the community looks like for everyone. This will give you something to discuss and approach with an open heart, because it's something that I have experienced in so many different facets, not with just one group or one community, but in multiple communities that practice different spiritualities and religions. And let's see. So I want to start with talking about the concept of the other. I believe that when we talk about ego and spirituality, which is a thing and we'll dive more into as I get into this topic, I feel like the thing that really drives that is this concept of the other, that there's me, and then there's the other. There's what I believe, and then there's the other. There's right, and then there's the other. A lot of people, myself included, go through different points in their spiritual and religious journeys in which the other is, let's call it for what it is. It's a part that's being rejected. It's seen as, this is separate from me. This is something that I can't get down with. There are certain people who practice things where it's like, what I practice is right. It's the only way to live. And the other is what's being rejected, and it's bad and it's horrible. And this is actually practiced by multiple different groups, more groups than you think. A lot of people will probably have like one religion that comes to mind as like stereotypes or whatever. But really, I've seen this in spiritual communities. I've seen this in yogi communities. I've seen this in a lot of different sets where it's like, there's what I believe, and then there's the other. And I think that when we talk about getting to the heart of getting rid of ego and spirituality, which I feel like is the heart of it, like it is one of the most important parts of the journey. But then again, That's my opinion, right? But to really recognize that we are all one, and we are all one body, we are all one community, we are all one, however you want, whatever verbiage you want to use to describe that. Like when we embrace this concept of we are all one, we are all in this together, then I feel like it drives out that fear and that hate and that judgment that comes from creating this separation between us and other people, right? Let me dive more into this a little bit though. So as I prepare myself to come out of the proverbial spiritual closet, right, and express what it is I believe, what it is I practice, what I'm about spiritually, which first of all shouldn't even matter, but just to keep the conversation going within the community that I was raised in, it's like, okay, I want to have this conversation. I want these people that I love, my family, my people that feel like family, even if they're not blood related, to be like, okay, like this is what, I don't want it to feel like a secret, like it's something that I'm hiding. So as I prepare to come out of the spiritual closet, right, I'm really preparing myself for the ways in which that I could get rejected, because that is a very real thing. And I watch people that I love and that I care about and who care about me post on their social media things like, I don't want to be around people who aren't believing what I'm believing, or ain't using this type of terminology, or isn't approaching spirituality in this way. Like, that's just not for me. And you know what? That is well within anybody's right to say. Let me preface it with that. That is well within anybody's right to say what they want to be surrounded by on their journey. I will challenge that though. I will present a challenge in that if you can't be around people who don't believe the same things as you, if you can't be a part of those conversations, what does that say to the security of your faith? What does that say to the security? Because if you are who you are and you believe what you believe, you can sit next to anybody. And in any part, any community or belief system, they're all, when you get to the root of it, they're all founded on the concept of love. Love is its foundation. And knowing that somebody does not want to be around me simply because we don't share the same belief system does not feel like love. It's not an expression of love. It's not rooted in love at all. It's rooted in fear. It's rooted in judgment. And so, and it's rooted in the concept of the other. And it's very ego based. It's very much so portraying this message of what I believe is right, what you believe is wrong. And even if that's not the intention doesn't matter to the person receiving the message. The message is, I'm wrong, I'm rejected, you don't like me because of a very vulnerable part of me. Because when we talk about it, our spirituality is one of the most vulnerable parts of us. Like, I would suggest that it's more vulnerable than sex. And sex is really deep, and sex is spiritual, but that's a whole nother video. But even if you take sex out of it, spirituality is such a vulnerable thing. To have faith in anything, to talk about your healing journey when it comes to anything, is very vulnerable. It's very intimate. It's very personal. And to feel rejected at that level hurts in a way that is indescribable. I think it's raining a little bit. Sorry, I can hear the rain. But I'm not here to just talk about other people. I want to take accountability for myself too. Another way in which ego can show up in spirituality is that we can use our spirituality, just like anything, as a vice. So that's something that I have done before. When I was getting out of an abusive relationship, and I was just in a really bad spot mentally, horrible spot emotionally, just going through a lot. And I felt so lost. I felt like I was in a dark space. I felt like I was falling and I had nothing to hold on to. Like, I was just incredibly depressed. I was incredibly mentally unwell coming out of that relationship. I literally locked myself in my house for a month. I only left my house to go grocery shopping and to go to therapy, but I worked from home, so I literally did not leave my house during that month. It was a very dark time. And in that healing space, as I began to heal and move forward and come out of that, I dove into my spirituality. And don't get me wrong, anybody who knows me will tell you that I have always been like, my spiritual belief system is what guides my life. It's always been the biggest part of my life, what takes up the most space, what takes up most of my conversations. Every decision I make is based on a message that I got spiritually, like in prayer. You know, I move forward from a very spiritual place. However, in this space, I was so deep in it, it had actually become a vice. And now I can't even, like, I'm literally just now able to recognize the space that it was holding, and this is years later. This is multiple years later. I'm like, whoa, I was really using that as a way to escape. And that's ego driven too. Our ego wants to survive, but our ego is a survival tactic. It clings to, this is who I am. This is the space I take up. This is what I gotta do. It's very fight or flight. And we can discuss ego more in future videos, but it's like, yeah, I used it from a place of like, I want to escape my current reality. And so it was no longer the thing that took up the most space. It was the thing that took up all the space. And I would have conversations with people. They'd be like, can we talk about something else? And I'm like, no. And I used to get so offended, but now I can laugh about it because it's like, girl, I was just trying to heal. I was just lost in the sauce, and I was getting so much knowledge and stuff, but I was trying to heal. And actually, it kind of backfired because I wasn't, how can I say this? It backfired in that what I feel like is not talked about often enough in the spiritual community, regardless of whatever faith umbrella you fit under, and with plant medicine, oddly enough, this fits too, is that you can't spend all of your time in the ethers, in the heavenlies, and like, you can't spend all of your time up there, right? In the higher chakras, always in prayer, always speaking tongues. Like, you can't spend all of your time up there. Why? Because as much as we like to be spiritual, we are actual human beings having an actual 3D experience. And so what has to happen is, at some point, periodically and consistently, you have to come out of these higher chakras and into your lower ones, your root chakra, and you have to ground and you have to integrate. What does that mean? If I go into my prayer closet and I get a specific message that's really perspective shifting and I sit with it, like, wow, that changed everything. Now I have to then go forth in my 3D reality and put that into practice in the things that I say and the things that I do and the places that I go and the people that I'm around and the boundaries that I enforce. I have to start shaping my world to integrate the message that came in. And that's across the board. And I say that includes plant medicine, because if you really use plant medicine in a spiritual way, in a medicinal way, like, let's say you go on a trip, you get these downloads, right? This is my personal belief. The trip is not the most important part of the journey. The most important part of plant medicine, if you do a ceremony, is the integration that comes afterwards. Because a lot can happen in the integration process. Because you have to realize that these downloads you're getting, they're reshaping your sense of identity. They're reshaping the space that you take up. They're reshaping how you verbalize and communicate with people around you. And so integration is just so important. And so I'm on this long tangent to say that I wasn't spending a lot of time in integration. I was just up in the third chakras because I was up here to escape my 3D reality. And that's ego based as well. And so I guess I'll just suffice this video to say, because I've been talking for a long time, I'll suffice all of this to say that check your ego even in spirituality. Just because you're praying, just because you're doing all of the things does not mean that you're not moving from a place in your ego. And some of the things that I listed can be some of those red flags of like, okay, I need to take a step back. I need to look at myself. I need to make sure that I'm not moving from a egotistical place. Because honestly, when you talk down on other people, when you label the other, or when you like try to fit this mold of what it looks like and what it means to be spiritually, but you're not actually changing on the inside, that feels very narcissistic, to be honest. And I could be using the word wrong, but it feels very narcissistic when people are like, oh no, I can't talk to this person because they don't believe what I believe. They're not identifying with what I identify with. Like, oh, so you think that your way is right and there is no other way. You think that you're God. You think that you're source. You're the creator. And I just don't resonate with people like that, especially, like I said, as I prepare to come out of my own metaphorical closet. So I'll just leave on this note. The second note I'll leave on is that something I wrote down. If you can't coexist around people who do not believe the same thing as you, are you really that secure in your faith?